Alright, I'll say it. I don't care. This should have just been a hentai. There is already so much group smashing going on, almost every chapter had it, might as well have just gone the full way. I'm not even mad about that. For the most part, this is one of the more wholesome sexual content mangas that I've read. Have fun judging me, cause I read every single chapter. Anyway, betrayed by the hero, I formed a MILF party with his mom. This is still an ongoing series with around 26 chapters. In all honesty, just being honest here, I picked this up because the title was funny. I was just like, you know what? That's ridiculous. That seems like it's going to be a silly read. I was not expecting romance, first of all, and I certainly was not expecting the amount of sex. I was kind of expecting the harem, though. So this is pretty explicit. I'm sure this falls into a MILF fetish category, and it takes the route of young women, teenage to early 20s, being valued, whereas women over 30 or those who have had children are basically worthless. This point really wasn't necessary, as it's not really an issue past the reason that these mothers leave their husbands and end up with the main character. There's also not much of a story going on here. Sure, there are things happening, but they're basically secondary to all the sex. I guess one more thing to be aware of, this is an isekai. The main character was an older father in his previous life, so now in this new world, he still has that older mindset, explaining why as a young man he prefers older women when men seem to want younger women. Anyway, what's going on? What's happening in this story? Well, spoilers, but we have our main character who is part of the hero's adventuring group composed of all his childhood friends. They, of course, are trying to defeat the Demon King. The hero ends up removing him from the party pretty much for selfish reasons. All the other members of the group are young women, so he just wants it to be them so they can just have their love affairs. After leaving, the main character does go to a slave market and ends up finding an older woman being sold that is actually the hero's mother and the first person that he loved. Turns out she was tricked and sold off by her husband, so the main character buys her, and so begins their romance. Now, why isn't the hero concerned about his mother being sold off? Well, first of all, he probably doesn't know. And secondly, remember, older women and moms are not cared about, so he doesn't care about his mom. Never has. This element of the slave market, again, really wasn't needed either, as this is pretty much the only time it's mentioned. It's basically the plot device to get the main character and this mother together. Now, it doesn't remain the two of them for long. As the title says, he forms a MILF party, and the rest of the moms are the moms of the other members of the hero's party. So basically, the main character was kicked out of the hero's party, so he formed a party with all of their moms, who he then starts banging. In all honesty, their dynamic together isn't bad. They all work well as a group, and they all are sharing in their loving, but what is annoying is that all of these women are very capable adventurers. When they were younger, all four of them were a party, and they were very strong together to the point that it frightened others, causing them to eventually quit and settle down. This is where I got annoyed. Even knowing all this, the main character does that thing where he's like, I've got to fight on my own. Y'all just stay home and relax, and all that they want to do is join and help him. He doesn't listen to what they want, but he also just doesn't want them to have to do anything. He wants them to just live a relaxing, comfortable life. Then, these mothers, it's kind of funny how this story is handling these dynamics, because it's like these kids don't care that much for their moms, and then the moms borderline dislike their kids. Even with their kids' life at risk, they're like, we have to teach them a lesson. Anyway, that's basically this manga. There's more to it with dragons and mysterious powers, but again, that's basically secondary. If this sounds interesting to you, give it a read. If you're like me and were curious because of the title, I'll tell you it's not as funny as the title made me think it would be. It's actually not that funny. There's a few moments here and there that made me laugh, but overall this is not a comedy. I will say though, before I end this, one thing that I did appreciate is that as things started to get worse for the hero's party, a lot of similar stories I've read keep these characters very arrogant, but here they realize their mistake and want to apologize for what they did. I thought that was very nice, though they haven't had a chance to do that just yet. Well, if you've made it this far, thanks for watching this video. My name is Bean. I am not kidding when I say I'll read almost anything. Check out the description for links to this model and any images used. Okay, bye.